Have you ever had that strange feeling when your phone vibrates in the middle of the night? Not because someone called you, not because your family needed you, just a notification. Most of us don't even think twice. We glance at the screen, maybe unlock the phone, and continue with our lives. It's become such a normal part of being human that we barely notice it anymore. But tonight, I want you to imagine something different. Imagine that one tiny notification isn't meant for you. It's meant for someone else. Someone sitting thousands of kilometers away, waiting, watching, hoping you'll make one simple decision. You know what's fascinating? The biggest cyber attacks in history didn't always begin with advanced malware or a Hollywood-style hacker breaking through firewalls. Sometimes, they began with something so ordinary that nobody questioned it. An email, a login request, a text message, a notification, or one simple tap. Welcome to BLACKSIGNAL, the place where we don't just report cybersecurity stories, we investigate them. Every episode, we uncover the hidden side of the digital world, the decisions, the mistakes, the technology, and the people behind some of the most fascinating cyber incidents shaping our lives today. I'm Lucifer. So, wherever you're listening from, maybe you're driving home, working late, studying, or simply relaxing after a long day. Thank you for spending these next few minutes with me. Take a deep breath. Put your phone down if you can. Turn the volume up just a little, and let's step into a world that most people never get to see. Our story begins with a question. What if I told you that one of today's fastest-growing criminal organizations doesn't look like a gang at all? No masks, no secret warehouse, no dark alley meetings. Instead, picture a modern office, developers writing code, designers improving websites, people answering support tickets, weekly software updates, performance improvements, subscription plans, even customer feedback. Sounds like the next billion-dollar tech startup, doesn't it? Here's the unsettling part. According to cybersecurity researchers, some phishing-as-a-service operations have adopted many of the same business practices that successful software companies use. Instead of selling productivity tools, they package phishing infrastructure, automate parts of their operations, and lower the barrier for other criminals to launch attacks. That realization completely changes how we think about cybercrime, because the enemy isn't always a lone hacker anymore. Sometimes, it's an organization, an ecosystem, a business. And businesses have one goal: growth. Think about your favorite streaming service. You pay every month. You receive new features. The experience improves over time. Now imagine a criminal operation using a similar mindset, not to entertain people, but to improve phishing campaigns, streamline infrastructure, and help other criminals launch attacks more efficiently. It's uncomfortable to think about, but that's exactly why understanding these operations matters. Cybercrime has evolved, not overnight, not with one revolutionary invention, but step by step, year after year, technology after technology, until one day, it became almost unrecognizable. And then, artificial intelligence entered the conversation. At first, AI felt exciting. It could write, translate, generate ideas, help developers, assist students, improve businesses. The possibilities seemed endless. But every powerful technology has two sides. A hammer can build a house or break a window. AI is no different. Security researchers have increasingly observed attackers experimenting with AI to improve the scale and quality of phishing campaigns. That doesn't mean AI replaces the attacker. It means it can make certain tasks faster, more convincing, or easier to adapt. And that's where our investigation truly begins. Because this isn't just a story about phishing, it's a story about evolution. About how cybercrime borrowed ideas from legitimate businesses and transformed itself into something far more organized than most people realize. In the next part, we'll step inside this hidden ecosystem and ask a difficult question. When cybercrime starts behaving like a startup, who is really winning the race, attackers or defenders? The first clue wasn't a line of malicious code. It wasn't a sophisticated zero-day exploit. It wasn't even ransomware. It was a business model, and honestly, that's what makes this story so unsettling. For decades, cybersecurity experts believed the biggest challenge was keeping up with better malware. Build stronger firewalls, detect suspicious files, patch vulnerabilities faster, improve antivirus software. It sounded logical because that's how cyber attacks had traditionally evolved. But somewhere along the way, the rules quietly changed. Instead of asking, how can we build better malware? Some criminal groups started asking a completely different question. How can we build a better business? That single shift changed everything. Imagine you're someone with almost no technical knowledge. You don't know how to build phishing websites. You don't know how to configure servers. You can't write malware. 5 or 10 years ago, that would have been the end of your criminal career before it even started. Today, well, things aren't always that simple. Researchers have documented phishing-as-a-service ecosystems where infrastructure, templates, and management tools are offered to paying customers. Just like legitimate software services, these operations focus on making complex tasks easier for their users. It's a reminder that organized cybercrime often borrows ideas from the business world, not because it's innovative in a positive sense, but because efficient systems can unfortunately be misused. Think about your favorite productivity app. You log in, everything is organized. There's a dashboard, documentation, tutorials, support. Now replace productivity with phishing. That's the disturbing part. Cybercrime doesn't always look chaotic anymore. Sometimes it looks polished, almost professional. And that's exactly why investigators around the world have become increasingly concerned. Because once cybercrime becomes scalable, it becomes repeatable. And when something becomes repeatable, it becomes profitable. Profit changes behavior. Profit attracts investment. Profit attracts developers. Profit attracts marketers. And eventually, profit attracts competition. Suddenly, criminal groups aren't just trying to attack more people. They're trying to outperform each other, build better tools, automate more processes, reduce costs, increase success rates. If that sounds familiar, it's because that's exactly how successful technology companies operate, except the product is completely different. Now let's introduce the second piece of this puzzle, artificial intelligence. When most people hear the words AI, they imagine helpful assistants, image generators, smart search engines, or coding tools. And to be fair, those innovations are real. They've transformed how millions of people work every single day. But here's something people rarely think about. Technology doesn't choose who gets to use it. It doesn't wake up in the morning and decide who's good and who's bad. It simply exists. And anyone, including criminals, can experiment with it. That's why cybersecurity researchers have observed attackers using AI in ways that aren't about creating some unstoppable super hacker, but about improving efficiency. AI can help draft convincing text, translate messages, summarize information, and speed up repetitive tasks. Used responsibly, those capabilities save time. Used irresponsibly, they can make phishing campaigns more convincing. Imagine receiving an email from your company's IT department. The writing style feels natural. There are no spelling mistakes. The formatting looks perfect. The timing makes sense. It references software you actually use. Nothing immediately stands out. Years ago, many phishing emails were easier to spot because they were rushed or poorly written. Today, that advantage is becoming smaller, not because AI is magically fooling everyone, but because attackers are constantly refining their techniques. And that's where the human mind enters the story. You see, phishing has never been only about technology. It's about psychology, curiosity, urgency, trust, fear. Researchers who study human behavior have known for years that people make fast decisions under pressure. An unexpected login request, an invoice marked urgent, a message saying your account will be suspended unless you act immediately. Those moments aren't designed to outsmart computers. They're designed to outsmart people. And people, well, we're busy, we're distracted, we're answering emails while joining meetings, we're checking notifications while eating lunch, we're multitasking during our commute. Attackers understand that. In fact, they depend on it. Picture a security operations center. Monitors cover the walls, Analysts are watching alerts stream across their screens. Thousands, sometimes millions, of events every single day. Most of those alerts are harmless. A normal login, a software update, an employee accessing cloud storage. It's routine, then buried among all that noise. One alert appears. Nothing dramatic, nothing flashing red. Just another login request. At first glance, it doesn't look dangerous at all. And that's exactly what makes it dangerous. Because modern attacks don't always announce themselves. They blend in, like a whisper in a crowded room. Like one extra drop of water in the ocean. Like one notification among hundreds. By the time anyone realizes something is wrong, the attacker may already be inside, quietly observing, learning, waiting. Not because they're in a hurry, but because patience has become one of the most valuable tools in modern cybercrime. And that's something Hollywood rarely gets right. Real attackers don't always smash through digital walls. Sometimes, they simply walk through the front door because someone unknowingly held it open. Now here's the question that changed this investigation. If cybercrime has become more organized, more automated, more businesslike, then what happens when artificial intelligence continues improving every single year? Will phishing campaigns become even more personalized? Will fake voices become harder to recognize? Will every suspicious email become impossible to distinguish from a legitimate one? Or will defenders evolve even faster? Because while attackers are experimenting with AI, security teams are doing exactly the same thing. And somewhere between those two worlds, an invisible race is already underway. A race that most people don't even realize has begun. And the outcome of that race could shape the future of cybersecurity for years to come. But before we answer that question, there's one organization that investigators believe changed the game by showing just how businesslike a phishing operation could become. And once you understand how it worked, you'll never look at a routine login notification the same way again. There was a time when investigators believed cybercrime groups succeeded because they had the best hackers. Today, many researchers believe something else separates the most successful operations: organization, discipline, efficiency. Think about it for a moment. When you hear the word startup, you probably imagine a small team working late into the night, constantly improving their product, fixing bugs, adding features, and trying to stay ahead of competitors. Now imagine applying that exact mindset to phishing. It sounds absurd. Yet reports from cybersecurity researchers have described phishing-as-a-service ecosystems that behave surprisingly like legitimate software businesses. Some maintain portals for customers, release updates, improve reliability, and even lower the technical barrier for newcomers. And that's where our investigation takes an unexpected turn. Because the real product wasn't malware. It wasn't stolen passwords. It wasn't even fake websites. The real product was convenience. Convenience for criminals. Instead of spending weeks building infrastructure, an attacker could potentially access tools that were already prepared. Instead of designing convincing phishing pages from scratch, ready-made templates could do much of the heavy lifting. Instead of managing every technical detail alone, some services reportedly offered dashboards that simplified the process. If that sounds familiar, it's because you've probably used legitimate software that works exactly the same way. Different purpose, same philosophy. Build once, improve constantly, scale globally. Now imagine you're running the security team for a large company. Thousands of employees, hundreds of cloud applications, millions of login attempts every month. Every day your systems receive an endless stream of emails, authentication requests, software updates, and support tickets. Some are legitimate, some are suspicious, most are ordinary. Somewhere inside that ocean of activity, one message arrives. It looks perfect. The company logo is correct. The formatting is clean. The language feels natural. Nothing about it immediately raises concern. An employee reads it. Another employee forwards it. Someone clicks. Someone approves. And in that single moment, the attackers don't celebrate. They don't rush. They don't trigger alarms. They wait. Because experienced attackers understand something that movies often ignore. The first objective isn't destruction, it's understanding. Understanding how a company works. Who has administrative privileges? Which systems contain sensitive information? How backups are managed? Who approves financial requests? What cloud services are being used? Patience often provides more value than speed. Hours become days. Days become weeks. Sometimes, weeks become months. During that time, defenders are searching for obvious signs of compromise. But what if there aren't any? What if the attacker deliberately avoids noisy behavior? What if every action appears almost normal? That's what makes modern investigations so challenging. They're no longer searching for someone smashing through a digital window. They're searching for someone quietly walking through an open hallway. Now here's where artificial intelligence quietly changes the equation. Contrary to what many headlines suggest, AI isn't magically hacking systems by itself. That's not how this works. Instead, AI can reduce the time required for certain tasks, writing convincing messages, summarizing information, generating different versions of the same email, adapting language for different audiences, helping attackers experiment more quickly. Researchers have warned that this increased efficiency can make phishing campaigns harder to distinguish from legitimate communication, especially when combined with careful planning. And that's exactly why cybersecurity professionals continue emphasizing something that sounds almost boring. Verification, not fear. Verification. Because technology keeps changing, human psychology doesn't. We're still curious. We're still distracted. We're still busy. And attackers continue designing campaigns around those very human traits. But then our investigation uncovered something even more interesting. For every criminal operation becoming more sophisticated, security teams are becoming smarter too. Threat intelligence analysts now share indicators across organizations in minutes instead of weeks. Machine learning systems can flag unusual authentication patterns that human analysts might never notice. Incident responders reconstruct attacks from tiny fragments of evidence hidden inside authentication logs, cloud activity, and network telemetry. It's an invisible battle, one side constantly searching for new ways in, the other constantly learning how to detect them faster. Neither side ever truly stops, and perhaps that's the biggest lesson of this entire story. Cybersecurity isn't a war with a final victory. It's an endless race. A race where every improvement by defenders encourages attackers to adapt, and every innovation by attackers pushes defenders to become better. Which brings us to one final question. If cybercrime can evolve this quickly, if AI continues improving, if phishing campaigns become more convincing every year, then what will tomorrow's attack look like? The answer may already be sitting quietly inside your inbox. Take a moment and look at your phone. Seriously. The device in your hand isn't just a screen anymore. It's your bank, your office, your memories, your conversations, your identity. Almost every part of modern life now exists somewhere in the digital world. And that's exactly why phishing continues to evolve. Because attackers aren't chasing computers. They're chasing people. They're chasing trust. The truth is, most successful cyber attacks don't begin with an extraordinary exploit. They begin with an ordinary moment, a notification during lunch, an email before your first coffee, a login request while you're rushing into a meeting, a message that arrives at exactly the right time. That's what makes modern cybercrime so fascinating. It's not always about defeating technology. It's about understanding human behavior. And perhaps that's the most important lesson from today's investigation. Artificial intelligence didn't invent phishing. It didn't invent cybercrime. What it changed was speed, scale, efficiency. It gave attackers new tools to experiment with, but it also gave defenders new ways to detect, investigate, and respond. The future of cybersecurity won't be decided by AI alone. It will be decided by the people who choose how to use it. Researchers, engineers, threat hunters, incident responders, ethical hackers, students learning cybersecurity late at night, and maybe someone listening to this podcast right now. Because awareness has always been the first layer of defense. The more you understand how these attacks work, the harder you become to deceive. So the next time an email tells you to act immediately, Pause. The next time your phone asks you to approve a login, verify it. The next time something feels just a little unusual, trust your instincts before you trust the screen. Sometimes, 30 extra seconds can prevent months of damage. If today's investigation made you look at cybersecurity a little differently, then BLACKSIGNAL has already done its job. Our mission isn't to spread fear. It's to replace uncertainty with understanding. To uncover the stories hidden behind headlines, to explain the technology shaping our digital lives, and to remind you that every breach, every investigation, every alert, every packet has a story waiting to be told. If you're watching on YouTube and you enjoyed this episode, subscribe to Lucifer 0xf and turn on notifications so you never miss a new investigation. Every episode of BLACKSIGNAL explores a real cybersecurity story inspired by public reporting, security research, and lessons the entire community can learn from. And if you're listening on Spotify, follow BLACKSIGNAL by Lucifer. It only takes a second, but it helps more people discover the show and become part of this growing cybersecurity community. If this episode made you stop and think, share it with someone who believes it could never happen to me. Because that's exactly what many victims believed, right before it did. Before we leave, I want to ask you one final question. Imagine waking up tomorrow morning. Your inbox looks normal, your laptop looks normal, your company is operating as usual. Nothing appears wrong. But hidden somewhere inside the network, an attacker has already been there for weeks, watching, learning, waiting. How would you know? More importantly, would you know before it's too late? That's the mystery we'll investigate in our next episode. A single approval, no stolen password, no malware, no dramatic Hollywood hacking scene. Just one ordinary authentication request. That opened the door to an extraordinary compromise. How did investigators reconstruct the attack? What clues did the attackers accidentally leave behind? And what simple mistake allowed everything to happen? We'll uncover every step on the next episode of BLACKSIGNAL. Until then, stay curious, stay ethical, stay vigilant, and remember, the internet is always speaking. Most people just don't know how to hear it. I'm Lucifer, and you've been listening to BLACKSIGNAL. Until next time.